Hi there. I'm going to start by saying this. Number one, I am not a lawyer. Number two, I am not a judge. And both of those are extremely relevant today because, as luck would have it, a day or two ago, we had the luck, the opportunity, we had the occurrence of having the first class action suit by artists, collective artists, brought against the creators of artificial intelligence art in relation to what is probably the crux of the matter when it comes to artificial intelligence and the way it creates its output, whether you call that art or not. And that is the scraping of lots of images to teach the AI things, right? My name is Ron Collins, and I am doing these blog posts and videos in support of a Kickstarter project that I have been running named 575, which has the spiffy subtitle of science fictional what is it? Science fictional examinations of the elusive haiku. So the whole conceit of this, and the reason why I'm doing these, and why this artificial intelligence versus art makes a difference to me, is that my conceit was to take 100 haiku that I wrote, roll them into the freely available Stable Diffusion engine, and see what art came out, right? And that was a great deal of fun. But it means that for the past several months, I've been deeply thinking about all sorts of stuff when it comes to the process of using artificial intelligence and the art that gets generated from that, the output that gets generated from that. My blog post will go into some detail around the things that I think are relevant and the reasons why I actually am not very optimistic for the artist side, despite the fact that I deeply want the artist to win. I do think that artists as a whole, whether they be musicians, writers, or visual artists, I mean, I'm in that class of people, so I think that we should be paid when a commercial entity uses our work in some way to create more commerce. That seems only fair. But my blog post describes why I think kind of the opposite is going to happen, because in the world of law, fair does not always matter. And as I understand copyright law right now, which is another reason why the I am not a lawyer plays, right? So many of us writers think we understand copyright law, but we don't. But given the way I understand how copyright law works, I feel quite pessimistic around the idea that that class action suit is going to actually win the day. I think there are some flaws in the way that it is looking at things, and I think there are some fundamental differences, really super big differences in the way this artificial intelligence art, be it of any type, gets created versus things like I've heard the streaming model, right? We should have some kind of a streaming arrangement and so forth. Clearly that doesn't work with regard to art or even stories or so forth. It works really well for music, and I think one of the things I don't go into in the blog post is I think it works pretty well for music because music has a different kind of discovery path. It is widely prevalent around, you hear music lots of places that you go to, you can find it quite easily, and when it delivers a product, when a streamer delivers a product, it delivers the entire actual song. Whereas this AI stuff doesn't really work that way. And I admit that I and probably everyone else who's watching this, reading these things, don't actually know how the AI really works down in its guts. We just read things about how people do things. And I'm most suspect of that because I have a software-ish background. And so I have this tendency, be it pretend exceptionalism, right, interest, and maybe it's my male pattern stupidity coming out also, but I have a tendency to fall back and think, well, this must be how it works, but in reality I don't know how it works. I just know what some of the design constraints are and things like that. So it'd be very, very interesting to see how this series of what I think will end up being a series of lawsuits comes out, because I don't think this is the first one. I think there will be several things that happen, and quite honestly, if this first one doesn't fail, or doesn't succeed, like I expect it probably will not, but knock on wood, it will. I think that artists in the community will back up and kind of take some other paths. I do want to highlight one thing that I definitely said inside the video, or inside the blog post, and that is, to me, the really super ugly, cheeky, crappy thing that the companies are doing is this thing where they are using the art, however they're using it. They're putting it through their tool, which is a value add. I mean, that's a complete value add. The tool does things that wouldn't happen otherwise, right? But then they're doing something really, most of them, the reason I use Stable Diffusion, the free one, is because it doesn't do this. It gives you free right to use whatever output, however you want. But most of them are then trying to monetize it and create, create a cash flow based on the fact that they will give you, in quotes, give you copyright to anything as long as you are a subscription member, whereas if you're just using it for free, you are allowed to use it for personal use. This is, to my non-intellectual brain, this is the problem. This is the big deal. I'm for capitalism. I'm for people making a profit, but it's very clear, it has been very clear, that the output of these things cannot be copyrighted. And so by definition, these technical companies who are trying to break down their cash flow, trying to create cash flow by giving you commercial rights, I mean, that just blows my mind. That's perhaps that's how I end up my blog post in there, and I think that is actually something for everyone to really be thinking about, because I think that is the place where the company is stepping outside and showing its true colors. And I think that is a place where artists, be they writers or be they musicians, or be musicians ended up with the streaming model, right? I think there could be some kind of a training model that artists opt into. And I think that is the final answer on the input side of things. Because the output side of things, by definition, I think the answer is, the answer that I've seen today all over the place is nobody owns the output, right? So I don't know. If you actually know what is going to happen, then you probably have a time machine, because I don't think that this is something that can be predicted on the front side, anyway, as far as that goes. And I think at the end of the day, all of the different economies of the attention world and the art world will roll together, and whatever comes out of these series of conversations on the front end are going to be the kind of defining things that will result in what our commercial world will look like for creators going forward. So really interesting next 6 months or so of time. That's my take anyway. Anyway, have a great day. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. And I'll probably be in Tucson again tomorrow, but we'll find out. Bye.